What's going on, everyone? I'm Jaren, and today we are talking about Saw, the 20th anniversary. In this story, we follow two men who wake up on opposite sides of a dead body with a specific instructions to kill the other or face the consequences. These two are the latest victims of the Jigsaw Killer. This landmark of a movie was the talk of 2004. I remember when the TV spots and the posters were just enough to entice my best friend Nohea and I. We just really wanted to check it out, but that came out in October of 2004, and then I think around January 2005, someone in our circle of friends was able to get a copy of the DVD. Now, there was no Netflix, and we were sort of broke, so we actually kind of got to pass this DVD around. Unfortunately, someone who saw it before us in our circle of friends ended up spoiling the ending/plot twist, which was kind of a bummer and underwhelming. I mean, great, now we knew what to look forward to, but that didn't really stop our excitement because I absolutely love this movie. There has never not been a year where I have not revisited that original Saw movie. It's pretty much become a comfort for me, especially when it came to the sequels. I'm always trying to make it out to the theater on opening weekend on day one because, why not? And with the first one being written by Leigh Whannell and also directed by James Wan, I have had the utmost pleasure in meeting both of those gentlemen, and they are a hoot. I absolutely love how humble, how cool they are into having these movie conversations. I mean, they're just really big nerds, and I just love how comfortable I was having to meet them for the very first time. And over the last 20 years, I've kept an eye on everything that they've worked on, whether together, separate, in the writing stage, acting in front of the camera, or just directing. And they have delivered some unique and game-changing bangers for blockbusters. Now, this isn't my first rodeo. I actually did attend the 10th anniversary screening for Saw for the Fathom events back then, and I got to do it again for the 20th anniversary, and damn, I feel old just seeing that stamp up. My best friends Aaron and Jamie were able to join in this time around, and I remember kind of going back to how this movie really just jump-started and kicked up the careers of Wan and Whannell with Lionsgate, with Twisted Pictures, as well as Blumhouse, and just seeing how they really just started off as this independent film, this little production where they just had minimal resources and a really small budget. From location scouting to production schedules to budget restraints, I bet they both look back on that picture now and just realize how they could have done better, how they could perfect that movie. But if I'm going to be honest, in my opinion, I think that a lot of the flaws and shortcomings of that first movie really make up that charm of why Saw is so memorable, why it has spawned so many sequels after all this time. Starting off with the bathroom, I mean, damn. That's the only set piece that actually had to be built for production, opposed to an actually sought out location. And this confinement of our two leads was a character of its own. You have every inch being painted white from top to bottom, and it was just covered in filth and grime. Not sure how they did that, but a lot of the wall tiles, the ceiling lights, the toilets, the urinals, and even the sink was all at dismay. The rust ate at the pipes, the mirrors, and possibly the bathtub that Adam emerged from. With our two leads far from freedom, I think that the script and the pacing does a tremendous job in keeping our audience engaged with the story while also unveiling a lot of the characters and exterior events that are happening in the past and the present. Now, before the studio turned the traps into the selling point of the franchise, I think that every trap that is presented on film is either big or small and tailored to every Jigsaw killer in one way or the other. The metaphors, the representation of faults in our human nature, as well as valuing life and what we're willing to do when we're faced with death. And all these big death contraptions weren't just there to test our minuscule victims, but also flourish our iconic Jigsaw, aka John Kramer. Tobin Bell, he was a stage actor trying to land his big break in Hollywood, having done 30 plus projects as an extra. And once he landed the role of Jigsaw, he spent half his screen time pretty much lying on the bathroom floor. But little did he know that his career was going to skyrocket over the next 20 years, having more to say about John Kramer and more endless surprises by Jigsaw. Our two leads are Carrie Elwes and Lee Winnell, who take on the roles of Dr. Lawrence Gordon and Adam. And unlike the rest of the franchise, the narrative really hinges onto the performances of these two, well, because they're pretty much stuck in the bathroom the entire time. And each information you're given, one at a time, it pulls back the curtain of who these characters are in their own lives, what is their connection into becoming the latest test subjects, and do they have the will to overcome Jigsaw's sadistic game, dead or alive? I even love the camera work that went into framing both of these guys in the same bathroom, where every time we focused on Dr. Gordon, you would get more of a steady, more of a controlled framing camera style work. And then when we shifted over to Adam, you get a little bit more of a handheld, kind of shifty, very uneasy focus. And I think that really sets the tone into how distinctive these two characters are in a shared situation like this. The rest of the supporting cast is just filled to the brim with talent, including Shawnee Smith as Amanda and her reverse bear trap sequence, which was just unforgettable. And that singular performance in itself was just enough to lead her to a much bigger portion of this franchise, a bigger piece of that puzzle. And also Michael Emerson, Monica Potter, and Ken Leung also deliver some outstanding and distinctive performances here. And of course, you can't forget the legendary Danny Glover, who never fails to make an entrance in any movie. I mean, it's become a trope in history cinema nowadays that he's just at the top of his game if he has his suit on or he has his gun to pull out of his holster. But a lot of the scenes that he's physical in, especially with scenes including Bell and Emerson, have always got me white-knuckled and at the edge of my seat, even though I know what the outcome is. It's just wild. The uncut version of the film was presented to us in 4K, and I think that it really brought out a lot of the wonderful and vivid colors of blood red against grungy whites. I mean, even the more darker scenes, especially with Adam's abduction, was a lot more clear to see. I swear there's just something wrong with the televisions that I'm watching it at home, because I can never see it that clear. There are a few music changes, as well as a few more frames of brutality and gore that are just thrown back in there. It is tasteful. It's not as overindulgent as the sequels have been. But the biggest highlight of my viewing experience would have to be the sound design, because opposed to watching it at home, it is a lot louder, a lot more crispier, a lot more just bombastic and effective. And there are some scenes that actually got to me just by some of the sound effects. And I've seen this movie many, many times. With only 18 days to shoot, there was a lot of filler scenes that Wan did not have enough of in order for him and his editor Kevin Gertert to make a cohesive film. So there were a lot of reshoots that were made, and I know Winnell had to step up and fill in as a body double to make a lot of those scenes feel a little more fluid during their transaction. And with a lot of Wan's signature style, I think that a lot of the quick cut and frenetic imagery became a quirk that I fell in love with. Some might say it's over the top. A lot of people might say it's seizure inducing, especially when it came to that formulaic twist ending that took all the footage and just recontextualized the entire story. And I think that's the trait that really brought me back to every single installment that has made me a fan of these films, because there's just something about having that iconic, very memorable theme song, especially Hello Zepp, play in the background, and that dead body just gets up for the very first time, realizing that that's Jigsaw, and then shutting the door only to hear Adam wail and scream his final breath. Oh my God. So effective, I swear. Overall, if you haven't had the chance to immerse yourself into the world of Saw as of late, I highly recommend checking it out. It still holds up, especially with the sequels. I highly recommend, if you're going to watch anything that's not just the first movie, I think Saw 2 is great, Saw 6, and even Saw 10. One of the better sequels, for real. James Wan and Lee Winnell are filmmaking fans of their own genius, and I cannot wait to see what they're going to do in Hollywood next, especially with Tobin Bell, who's still carrying on the torch of a possible 11th installment as Jigsaw, because although the character is canonically dead, that doesn't mean the story and the games are over. All right, guys, that's all I got to say about that movie. Go ahead and check it out. I'm sure if you missed the Fathom events, it's streaming somewhere, or if you got the hard copy like me. In the meantime, I'm Jaren Agbanawag. Look forward to more reviews. I want to thank you guys so much for taking some time out of your day to hear me talk some movies. I will be seeing you guys at the theater. In the meantime, take care and happy Halloween.